Yeah, we'll see. I mean, there was a lot of hype online, so, I mean, not like an insane amount, but I thought it was going to be like maybe 20, 30 people.
Right.
So maybe they just think it's like show up when you want kind of thing, but that's not how it's going to roll. I mean, we got to get organized. So if we're going to get organized, we at least try to start on time and do all that kind of stuff. I'm going to close the door. People will just have to go walk around, and we're going to get started. We're starting. Hi, how are you?
Hi, great to see you. I'm Heather.
Oh, nice to meet you, Franklin.
Hi.
So yeah, we're gonna get started. I know there's quite a few people online that were supposed to be here. To anyone watching out there, we're doing a live. We got Audra and myself there doing a live, so you guys can check it out. For anyone who thinks this is kind of like just show up when you want, that's not really how it works. The whole purpose of this meeting is for us to get organized. So the first step is for us to actually be on time and start on time, which is why I'm starting 1 minute late, and that doesn't even make me happy. I'd rather be right on time. So we're going to run through this. Whoever's here is here. Whoever's not, it's okay. But we have a little kind of addendum to go through here of different things we're going to talk about. I also have my dear friend who is also part of this church, Dave Carney, who's going to assist with some of the stuff we're talking about. So he'll come up here in a little bit and talk about it. So yeah, so basically there's 6 things we're going to go over. So essentially what we're doing is standing against the New World Order. But before we get into any of that, there's 6 steps to this meeting to this morning, or this afternoon, I should say. So number 1, we're going to go over rules. Just because there needs to be some order. Number 2, we're going to go over what the New World Order is and what it is not. Number 3, we're going to go over why we stand against the New World Order. It's important to know why we're doing what we're doing. Number 4, how do we stop it? How do we stand against it? How do we stop it? And then number 5, how do we get organized? And then number 6, and this will kind of be the wrap up, will be we'll have a sign up sheet where you can put your phone number, your skill set, and then whatever you're passionate about. So it's going to actually be like your name, phone number, skill set, and then whatever you're passionate about, because that's all part of being organized as well. Now this sheet is not going to be shared with everyone at the meeting. It will just be for Dave and myself that are heading this up, and then we'll figure out a way for us to have some kind of online group. It may be through WhatsApp, it may be through, some people said Signal, whatever. So yeah, so without further ado, and yeah, I mean, I know there's people that are going to show up late, but I'm not going to repeat myself. That's something we're not going to do here. Sorry that I'm like this, but someone's got to be this way. That's really the issue that we're having in the Truther movement, is everyone's kind of just winging stuff, and we got to get organized. That's what this is about. So, number 1, we're going to go over a few different rules to make it very clear to everyone. To everyone watching online that was saying that this is a trap, that it's a honeypot, you know, it's not. You guys don't know me. But the number 1 thing I want to say to everyone out there that is saying, like, leave your cell phones at home, how are you going to vet people, this is a trap, all this kind of stuff. We're not talking about doing anything illegal here, all right? We're in a church, right? We're in a church. Our pastor was kind enough to let us use this building. We're going to honor this church, the pastor, and we're not talking about doing anything illegal at all. So going through rules, number 1, there's no illegal conversations as far as, you know, we're not talking about taking to the streets and, you know, doing some crazy stuff. Like, that's not what this meeting is about at all. So whoever thought that that's where we were heading with it, that's not where we're heading. This is clearly something that unfortunately I will have to repeat for people. But, you know, yeah, so that's that. The other thing is there's no political affiliations whatsoever. We're not getting into politics. This isn't a left or right or anything like that. And I'll just say this from the bottom of my heart: if you guys are on one side or the other, you're stuck in the matrix. That's just the reality. For myself, I lean more with conservative values. However, I've learned that no one in government that is labeling themselves to have my values represents me adequately at all. That's why I don't support anyone in government. Like, that's just me, right? So we're not looking to convert liberals to being conservative or conservatives to being liberals or anything like that. And I also mean this with the bottom of my heart. I'm telling you guys, I would even though I would consider myself a conservative, I would trust a liberal person in front of me a lot more than a conservative in government. So let that sink in for a second. I will trust a fellow human being here that is a liberal, that is on the other side of the aisle, technically, over a conservative that represents my values in government. And that's where we need to bridge the gap. It's not left versus right. It's us versus them. That's the reality. And so I want to, make this. I'm spending a little extra time on this right now, but this it's not left. It's not right. It's not even in the middle. It's completely outside of the matrix. You're not taking the blue pill or the red pill. You're just not in the matrix. Unplug altogether, right? Realize that they're both working together to accomplish their goal, which is the New World Order, which we're going to go into. And then the other rule that we have here is no divisiveness. So if there's anyone that's bringing in division, that goes directly against what we're doing. So, we may warn you, or we may just say hey, you're done. So I'm going to repeat this really quick, just this first part, because I think it's really important. So, we're going to go through 6 things today, right? Number 1, rules, because there needs to be some order in what we're doing. Number 2, we're going to go into what the New World Order is. Number 3, why do we stand against it? We can actually stand up against it and stop it. Number 5, how do we get organized? And then number 6, which is the very last part, is we are talking about, we're going to have a sheet here, a sign-up sheet where you can put your name, phone number, your skill set, and whatever you're passionate about. Now, I'm just going to reiterate this really quick. This sheet right here is not for everyone. It's really just going to be for me and Dave Carney. We both work at this church. You guys know where to find us. And you don't have to fill this out, by the way. But if you want to stay involved on how we can do this, that's going to be it. So we're just going to go through 6 things today. We're not going to make it very long at all. Appreciate everyone that came out. I'm going to repeat the rules. I may also repeat them at the end because I get a feeling that there's a few people that are going to be coming in late. But the rules are important. Number 1, this is not, we have a lot of people online that are saying this is a honeypot situation, it's a trap. Leave your phones at home. How are you going to vet people? All this kind of stuff. I don't care if any one of you guys is a federal agent. I could care less because, for one, you guys don't intimidate me. Neither of you guys online. I know you guys watch my stuff, you creeps. But I will say this. We're not doing anything illegal here. So, come and get it. We're not doing anything illegal. You're going to look really bad if you're trying to shut down a meeting of people that are talking about abiding by the law-abiding citizens. And that's what we're getting into, is how can we uplift and uphold the law for ourselves and for everyone around us and for the people that are, quote-unquote, in charge of society, because they're not exempt from the law either. So number 1, going into rules, no illegal conversations. We're not talking about taking up the street, doing anything crazy. That's not the right meeting. That's not what we're doing here. Number two, I already went through this, but I'm just going to repeat it. No political affiliations, not left, not right. Has nothing to do with that, right? And number three, no divisiveness. So hopefully that makes sense. So we're going to get into, and just to linger a little bit longer on this, on the rule things and the illegal stuff. There's no need to operate illegally in a country that was built on resisting tyranny. Let that sink in for a second. There's no reason for us to do anything illegal. Our forefathers did nothing illegal. 1776 is not illegal. Let that sink in for a second, right? Standing up against the government is not illegal. So I want you guys to rethink what legal means and what abiding by the law actually means. We have laws in this country, and some people would argue this is a democracy. Some people would argue it's a constitutional republic. I say either way. On one side, the democracy says whatever the people want is what the people get. And I'm kind of for that. On the other side, you have whatever the law says, no one can go above that. I'm also for that. I'm for both. The reality is our current state of affairs, and it doesn't matter what administration. I'm going to make this very clear. It doesn't matter if it was this year, 4 years, 10 years, it doesn't matter. It does, in my opinion, it really does not matter. I haven't seen anyone in our local government, our federal government, and anywhere in between that does either one of those things. That either does what the people want or what the law says to do, right? So it's neither. We're currently living in a country that abides neither by a constitutional republic. And really, we're looking at would be somewhat of a oligarchy or borderline tyranny. Some people would call it a technocracy. And what we're talking about here is that the people that are making decisions for us, that are supposed to represent us, are being influenced by corporations, by foreign interests, by billionaires, tech bros, and none of these people have our best interests at heart. So they're not representing us accurately. They're going against what this country was founded on, and so there's a lot to talk about and go into there. But there's no need to go outside of the law. Our forefathers laid a very, very solid blueprint of what it looks like to stand up for freedom. To stand up for freedom in a legal manner. So I want to encourage you guys. We're on the right side. We're on the right side of history. We're the ones that want to stand by the laws of our country. So everything's been inverted for a reason, and they got us thinking that questioning any kind of quote-unquote authority is not good. But that's exactly what our forefathers did, is they questioned a lot of things. And that's how we got the freedom that we once had. So we're going to get into a few things. We're going to get into, and I will repeat again these rules at the end, because I know there's probably going to be some more people that show up a little later, and I want to make it very clear that this is, it's not everything goes here. That's just the reality. And we're going to have some structure. We're going to be organized. So we're going to get into a couple things. I'm going to ask my dear friend Dave Carney to come up and share. So we're going to talk about what the New World Order is, because there's a little bit of confusion as to what it is. And I'm going to have Dave Carney share just a brief history lesson on what it is, because if we don't understand where it came from, the history of it, at least in a nutshell, it's going to help us understand where they're going with the New World Order. So give it up for Mr. Dave Carney.
Thank you, Franco. Appreciate that. I got involved in writing a book a couple of years ago on the history of the United States. It just what the things that we're seeing just don't really align with what we were taught in high school, right? So I started looking into it, and I spent a year doing all this research on this book. And then after it was done, I began to talk to my friends, my relatives, stuff like that, and I could just see them looking at me going, he is a conspiracy nut, you know? And I went, okay, all right, that's fine. So I spent the next 6 months going back through the book again and dumping everything that I could find a airtight, super tight reference for. So what I'm going to tell you today is backed up by serious historians. So it's really not me telling you this. This is what they actually say if you dig through all the garbage. It all started way back, hundreds years ago with a guy by the name of Meyer Rothschild. And he was a young guy, and he joined a banking firm. It was called Oppenheimer Banking System. And it was a very powerful bank, and he learned about money supply and how money supply literally can control a nation. Because you think about it, if you can control the money supply of a nation, you can control its prosperity or the opposite. Pretty powerful. And we all been to that, right? I mean, if things are not going well, we're a lot more open to doing things that maybe we never agreed to before. An example of that is the Patriot Act. The Patriot Act had been around for, I believe, at least 10 years before 9/11, but because of the panic of 9/11, they split. But anyway, back to Mayer. Mayer had a really good run, money, and so he kind of got himself set up, and he made a lot of money. Well, he had 5 sons, and he sent each one to like the main part of to the country for war. So that's what they loan system, which basically said that, okay, if you win, you have to pay the loan back, but if you lose, in other words, if you win the loans of the losing country. So it became a win-win situation for the banking system. So it became very profitable. Now, how they extracted the money from the losing country was totally up to them, which we saw a lot in World War I with Germany. It took Germany over into the 2000s to actually pay the debt back in gold that was racked up, that was put against them in World War I. Think about that for a minute. Well, at any rate, they found a good place to make some money. And one of the sons that moved to England was a guy by the name of Nathan Rothschild. And so he was doing his thing. Now, there was this kid that was in South Africa, and he tried his hand at farming, and he failed miserably at it, right? So all of a sudden, what he did is he decided his hand at diamond mining. And he didn't like that too much. It was nasty work, super hot, sweaty. But he got a bright idea. He said, well, you know what? What if I sell ice cream? I bet you these guys, after working all day in this blazing hot sun, would pay pretty good money for ice cream. So he bought a setup for that, and he did it, and he was super successful. Found out that people were totally willing to give their money for ice cream. The next idea he had is, now there was either super hot or it was like raining all the time. And the rain would literally stop and close the diamond mines down because they get flooded, right? So he got some steam engines, and he figured out some pumps. He goes back to England, and he meets Nathan Rothschild. Well, a government, a one world order. And so when he was talking to Nathan, he told him this. Well, it turns out that Nathan had tried it himself not too long before that. Now remember, all the Rothschilds were writing loans to all the countries. So when the Napoleonic War was over, it was right. And Nathan tried to get all the countries to agree to create a unified Europe, right? Well, the Tsar of Russia blew it apart, and so that he kind of squashed it, and that didn't go too well. As a matter of fact, it turned out that every diamond mine you can, I'll back you. That's actually what they had, and what they ultimately ended up with was a thing called the De Beer Mining Company. Anybody ever hear of that? Right.
I grew up on it.
You did, yeah. Come on.
My dad told me about the monopoly of the De Beers and how they went about it, what the Jews did. I ran
Right.
And then when I finally woke up, I'm like, oh my God, how did my dad know? My dad, I'd go out in Santa Barbara when I was a kid, and he'd be in the library studying, and me and my girlfriends were shopping downtown. There's my dad studying.
Studying that stuff. So it's been around for a long
Yeah,
time.
he told me about the monopoly of the diamond mines.
Sure.
And so,
And it was smart about is they had so many diamonds that if they'd let them go, had they not had this monopoly, like she said, they would have ruined the diamond market. Diamonds would have been worth nothing. Right? But they piecemealed them out slow. They promoted the idea of buying a rock for your wife. And that's exactly what they did. Well, so they were good now. So they had that going on, and they began to create a thing called the Society of the Elect, which was a super secret organization, which now sounds conspiratorial. A super secret organization which would then do. Rothschild began to bring people into that organization that were like the most powerful elite of England at the time. And so they started figuring, well, how can we do this? How do we accomplish this? And they said, well, we're going to create these ancillary groups. The first thing they created was a thing called the Pilgrim Society. The Pilgrim Society was sounded like a dinner club for the super rich, right? Bring them in, wine and dine them, get them on board, that sort of thing. And so that began to develop, and they began to do that. And then there was the creation of more of these sort of things as they were trying to do it. Cecil Rhodes created a master's program where he would take people from they knew they had to get the United States on their side. And the United States at the time pretty much hated England. I mean, we were still locked into things to do with with the Pilgrim Society, as they did one over here. And then they began to get the rich and the elite here to come on board to what they were doing. Then through the master's program, they would take the brightest we would have, they'd bring them back to England, indoctrinate them into this system, and then send them back, trying to get them into newspapers, trying to get them into the government, right? Where they would go. One of the first places that they began to put them was into the State Department, right? And the first thing they started doing was encouraging loans back to England, or grants and foreign aid to England. And they began to move all through that. So at any rate, we'll flash forward to, this is just super superficial, what I'm saying. So we go then to World War I, Europe. They were kind of the big dog in Europe for over 150 years. And Germany was doing really well through their African colonies that they had. And Germany was taking that money and they were using that to build up Germany and build up their military. And they hadn't done anything. They were just trying to build up their strength for what they were trying to do. That was going well. So what they did is England, the Chatham House, began to work out, say, well, how do we deal with it? They said, well, we're going to make alliances with other nations. So England made an alliance with France, and then Germany did the opposite, right? So you begin to see this polarization, the setup, if you will, for a world war through this. And of course, it happened. Well, one of the last things they did is the problem they had was, well, how do we get England to allow their kids to go and fight these wars? That's kind of a big deal to send your kids off, right? Well, Sigmund Freud enters, of all things, at this time. Sigmund Freud was doing his pioneer work at the time on how to what? Control people's mind. Get people to change their mind. Which was a good work. I mean, there's a lot of good things that came out of that. Well, he had a nephew that was in on that knew about all this stuff and said, well, what if we take these techniques and we use them for mass communication? So they tried it out. So in World War I, there was a newspaper over there that began to create articles every day against Germany using these mind control techniques. Now you have to understand, Germany hadn't done anything. Nothing, no aggression, nothing. All they were doing was just strengthening their military at the time. That's all they had done. But they began to run this ad, 6 months, every day, pounding away. And what they found at the end of the 6 months, Rothschilds over here, though. You know, but they were kind of behind the scenes on what was going on there. He thought it was such a great idea that he hired 12 newspapermen in the United States. He said, what are the most influential newspapers in the United States? They gave him 25 newspapers. He bought all of them. The logic being, if the top 25 newspapers, you're going to look stupid, right? If you say something other. So in a way, they were pretty much controlling the entire newspaper system because they owned the top 25. So what they did is they decided they were going to take the 25 newspapers they have, and they began to crank up the mind control for the United States. And after it was a while, it took a while to do it, they actually got to a point where they, got the American people enough. And at the time, America hated foreign wars. They wanted absolutely nothing to do with foreign wars. They wanted nothing to do with England, but this was all being shifted around through this stuff that was going on. So they agreed to it, and eventually they got enough where we got involved, obviously, in World War I, and we went through that whole thing. And at the end, after it was over, well, in the thing, they executed a thing called the League of Nations. I don't know if you've heard about it, but that was their first attempt. We're setting up all this stuff. And it was, if you look at the thing, it was pretty much a one-world government that was going on. But the deal is, they needed the United States to make it happen. And fortunately, the way they wrote the Constitution is anytime we enter into a foreign treaty. Now, here's something you need to understand that's super important. Foreign treaties supersede the Constitution of the United States. Let that sink in for a minute. When you go there, you're in, right? And it supersedes. So if they can get us into those agreements, that's exactly what happens. So at any rate, it was right after the war. They didn't have the votes. They couldn't get 2/3 of the senators to agree to it, so it didn't happen. So Chatham House, the Society of the Elect, all these guys, as Irving Baker said, we've got to figure out a better way to do this. And so they created an organization called the Council on Foreign Relations. The council take the newspaper machine. Money, they're bankers, they got tons of money, they back the guy with money, they back him with their newspaper machine, and they get him elected. So now he's in. Well, what does he do? Now he packs his whole cabinet with Council on Foreign Relations members, which are all of these guys, right? That came out of this whole thing, that are indoctrinated into that whole system. Now they're in place, right? And they begin to bring in more Council of Relations people before, and now they begin to Chatham House and these other ones basically are creating the propaganda, if you will. And now this can be being fed, and this information, because it's coming from the inside of the government, is now being fed to Congress, it's being fed to the Senate. The senators are looking at it, believing that it's 100% right, because it's from a government source. See it? Beginning to see how that works? And that, I'm going to stop right here, was the beginning of the deep state. And they only advanced it and perfected it, and that's where we're at right now, is the end result of that. And that's a little piece of it, but that'll get you kind of going. So, thanks.
Yeah, give it up for Dave Carney. Yeah, so we'll be hearing some more from him. He's got, he's written a book. I mean, he's very knowledgeable, so you guys can tell. Definitely knows what he's history, how this stuff started, understanding it better. And, it really, I think what stood out to me probably more than anything is the idea of infiltration, and that's what we have here in the United States is, I don't believe that this country was necessarily founded on New World Order principles. It wouldn't seem that way looking at our forefathers, but it's definitely been infiltrated by people that have that agenda. And like Dave was saying, you start wondering, like, how is it possible that our laws say this, the Constitution says this, our forefathers were like this, and yet it seems like now the people that are in government are doing the complete opposite. Like, how does this even make any sense? And, a big part of it is this infiltration where it's like you're just stacking people with people that are part of a secret society doing, what you want them to do. And I did see some hands raised. Keep your questions, if it's okay, keep your questions for the end. Write it down if you
It's
can.
not a question, it's a comment.
Yeah, yeah.
The Constitution, those rights and liberties are only provided for a select few, white land-owning men. Now, yes, those documents have been rewritten, but the cornerstone was laid by the Freemasons. DC is a pentagram. Same as London, the Washington Monument is an obelisk. So until those documents burn, it will always be the United Slave States built on land, a foundation of raping and murdering in the name of God. So, all right, you can
That was a loaded comment, but I'm hearing what you're saying. I agree with part of what you're saying, not necessarily all of it. That's maybe it's a discussion for another time.
Yeah, I do have to leave early today too. I have an Airbnb request. I'm sorry, but
No worries.
Thank you for holding this.
Yeah, no problem. So I'm going to kind of touch on like the current events of what I see the New World Order doing, a couple things that we can just see, right? Surveillance, right? It all started with the traffic light camera, which whatever, you want to have a traffic light camera or whatever. Now it's like cameras that belong nowhere, that are facing in people's neighborhoods. I don't know if you guys have seen these vlog cameras. Like some of these cameras, it's really creepy. They're facing into people's neighborhoods. Has nothing to do with making sure someone didn't run red light or something like that. So there's surveillance, chemtrails and geoengineering, which are a real thing, none of which that we consent to. There's also the data centers, right? Which again, kind of has to do with tracking us. If anyone's paying attention to anything that's happening online, you can clearly see that no one wants these data centers. No one. No one designed to consume fresh water and to put us in a state of drought. And this goes into some crazy stuff that I'm not going to talk about, but all I will say is that for my understanding, 2027 is going to be a drought year for the whole world. Like that's what their plan is. Their plan is to make water a very, very valuable resource. They're already stacking it, and then they're draining our supply. So this is visible evidence of the New World Order operating right in front of us. So understanding the history that Dave talked about and how far it's come today to the point where even though you have so much opposition, regarding these data centers, they're still pushing some of these things through. There have been some little victories here and there, so it's good for us to be able to take courage. But that's blatant disregard for human life. It's blatant disregard for American citizens, and not just American citizens, but citizens of the world, because it's not just happening here, it's happening worldwide, trying to run the world. Same today. That's all. I'm not going to get too much into it, but that's the same.
Regarding the 2027 drought and all that, I just want to, before you abundance, there's no drought. They sell us scarcity, so I just want to,
They are buying up the water rights, so he is
we have
not.
aquifers, we have, we breathe air, we are water. We breathe water. So the thing is that it's just, I just kind of want to just put that in as
I
far
get
as
what you're saying, we need to keep our positivity going,
And there's
even though we
ways
still
to
need
go
to
by
fight against
there.
the things that are coming. We have to be real, but I understand, yeah.
Yeah, and the reality is that we're just energy, right? We get that. I think we're all in the understanding that we're energy, just kind of like Wi-Fi, but also it's kind of like they harvest that. Even if we're truthers or we know
Yeah.
better or whatever you want to label yourself as, just know to stand in love, stand in knowing, stand fearless. 'Cause we
Absolutely.
can't-
Yeah.
So I hear there's definitely we don't want to be living in fear, and I do believe that there's a battle for our mind and a spiritual battle that does revolve around propagating fear and there's no shortages of water anywhere in the world currently, and they're trying to sell us on the idea that the world is overpopulated, which is a real thing. So Dave they've created this illusion by getting people to live in cities that are congested with a lot of people. So most people live in a city and they look around them and they're like, oh yeah, it's definitely overpopulated. But if you've traveled anywhere in the world, I've traveled almost everywhere in the world, and I've seen an incredible amount of open land, like worldwide inhabited. But by design, they've created these mega cities and bunched us together and sold us on the lie that the resources are scarce, there's too many people in the world, all this kind of junk and nonsense. So I do agree with what you're saying. However, and this is a big however, the people that are planning things like this, they take actions to, like, are there aquifers? Absolutely. Are they actively trying to poison these aquifers? Absolutely. So it's not a fear. I'm not here to fear monger in any way. I'm here to make, a point as to, like, this is what I believe their plans are according to a lot of data, and here's how we can stand against them. And I think that having a positive mindset and not buying into the fear is a big part of it. So I do agree with you there. And there's some stuff in between, right? So
I didn't say to be positive. Just
yeah, for sure,
in
for
this
sure.
reality that we're in right now.
Right.
I mean, you could be aware.
Right. Yeah.
In the now, right now, be real.
Yeah.
And be okay with, oh fuck, you know what I'm saying? And at the same time, like, but there's a solution, but there's an answer.
Right.
But,
Yeah. No, for sure. No, we're
Stand for things, not against things,
Yes.
please.
well, so-
I will not be part of a group that's standing against.
well, that's okay. I'm not here to get you to be a part of anything. And I'm gonna be very clear,
I would like to be, but I would like to stand for something rather than against
Like
something.
stand for freedom instead of.
I understand, but so let's make something clear. We got to bring some order to this ASAP, because otherwise we're not going to do another meeting like this. So, I'm just being real with you guys. Like, I'm not here to debate nobody. I want to make it an open conversation, but, I'm not here to please everybody. If you guys don't like this, that's cool. You can leave. Like, I don't care. I literally don't.
With me or not.
I feel you. Well,
it absolutely does not align with me and my
I
values.
think what it's trying to do is organize people so we can get information out, because these people are so much more organized and more intelligent than us. And they've been organized.
They're not more intelligent than us. Please don't say that.
Well, they're organized. So brainwashed.
They're more organized.
Okay,
Like,
agreed.
those are people around me, they think I'm a complete nut.
Brother, you know
And
what?
I come across peaceful, like this is for the betterment, but they're like this. They
Yes.
have their minds on it. You go through the education system, you go through, all the media that's coming at us. That's what's happening to people. We have to be united. We have to agree to disagree, but be united.
Yes.
And be where the person's coming from, because we're all here because we're coming from the right spot. And we have to organize as well as they have, or we're not going to make it.
So, guys, so we have about 20 minutes left. I am going to hard stop probably at 2, because I can't give, like, this is still my time. I appreciate you guys being here. You're giving up your time. I'm also giving up my time, so it kind of goes both ways. So, and I know for a fact there's going to be a lot of people that don't like me. To be honest with you guys, there's already people that don't like me online. You guys, I don't know if Shannon is in here, but there's someone named Shannon made some threats to me and all this weird stuff. Not gonna get to it. I get threats on a daily basis. Like, I'm used to it by now, so it's not a big deal. I've had 3-letter agencies knock on my door, like whether it's the public, whether it's the government. Like, I'm used to this stuff. This isn't my first rodeo, but on the flip side, I'm not here. I'm gonna be very transparent. Maybe this isn't the right place for you. Maybe I'm not your guy. That's okay. But I'm not here for us to sit in a circle and debate about, like, what we're gonna call this. If we're gonna be saying, like, the word fight, if we're gonna, all this stuff is like, that's just not where we're at. Like, that takes up time. Keep that in mind. Let's try to get through this, because we don't have a whole lot of time left. But so we can see the evidence of the New World Order today, here, now, in real time. Unfortunately, not. And up against it. And to your point, so we can, when you stand for something, your decision means to cut off. I don't know if you guys know this, but the word decision, it means to cut something off. And no to something else. So we could say we're pro-human life and pro-humanity and against the New World Order. We could say we're against it, either way. The New World Order, if you're the New World Order, if you're for human life. So I will say for human life. So I will say, and there's two sides to this. The first side is as humans. Now we are also in the church. The second side is as Christian, which some people here are Christian and some people are not, and that's okay. I'm not here to talk to you guys about, converting you guys to Christianity, but I do want to touch on both of those things. Because whether you're a Christian or not, if you're here today, you're a human being. So let's start with that. As human beings, why do we stand against the New World Order? Well, number one, I guess the biggest reason is depopulation. Right? So if you value human life, if you're a human being, then you value other people, you value their life, you love humanity, you love humans. That's what it should be. That's what separates us from animals. Animals have love for each other, but humans have a greater capacity to have compassion and even when we're enemies. You can see that. You can see stories of, different countries or people groups that are enemies, and yet they find ways to still help each other and put their differences aside to be able to work together as a human species, right? So number one, as human beings, they're coming after everything that is dear to us, including our own life, right? They want to devalue us, and they want to exalt technology. Think about that for a second. The insanity of this, right? So this is, some of you guys know I'm a musician. I play, I'm a full-time musician, and at most of my shows, and even here at church when I play here on Sunday, I tell people I have one message, and sometimes it's in the middle of the show, sometimes it's at the beginning, sometimes it's at the end. But I try to get one message out. I'm going to tell you guys what this message is that there's nothing more valuable on this planet, nothing more valuable than human life. It's the single most valuable thing. It's the single most valuable thing, human life. Now, we've been duped into believing that real estate is more valuable, that technology is more valuable, that money is more valuable. Power comes from within you. And I believe it's something that God created us with. It's this ability to be able to, for us to be able to have discernment and see things for what they are. So, a lot of us has been made to believe that the people that are making decisions and that have power, they have power because they have money, because they have real estate, because they have belongings, they have more than we do, so they have a bigger voice, all this kind of stuff. It's not true. And in fact, I'm going to prove it to you guys, right? People hold all the power because people are the ones doing the work that the billionaires pay for. So if the people just stopped doing the work, the billionaires wouldn't be able to do anything. Like nothing. Like absolutely nothing. And I'm gonna really dive into this, like, not super deep because we don't have a ton of time, but I'm gonna say something really quick. Our money is worth nothing. It's worth absolutely nothing. I got a $5 bill here, right? Got a 20 in there, I'm rich. But, this here, it's paper. Have you guys read what it says on here? You guys ever read what it actually says? I'm going to read it to you guys. It says, "This note is a legal tender for all debt debts, sorry, plural, because they were anticipating we would be in debt. Public and private. This is a legal tender for debt. It's worth absolutely nothing. And yet, we slave our lives away, and we exchange the most valuable. What is the most valuable thing on earth? Anyone? I just said it. Anyone paying attention? I just said it. What's the most valuable thing on earth?
You say human life, but it's life.
Yeah.
In general, it's life. It's all creation, basically.
Okay, it is human life.
When it comes to save all of life, because life is what is truly important. Humans.
Okay. Have a chat with you after this, and fill you with a different spirit that we have. But yeah, animal life, it's human life. And I'm going to stand on my 2 feet and say that, and that's okay. And I'm going to say it again and again until everyone that your life, which is the most important thing, for paper that's worth nothing. Paper that's worth absolutely nothing. Right? Think about that for a second. This exactly. I'm not going to dwell on it too much, but we saw a spirit here. This is a spirit. That's a spirit. She just said right here. You guys heard her. She said we could do without humans. That's not a human spirit. We're not going to stand for that. That's why I brought up Christianity. Doesn't matter if you believe or not. There's the evidence right here in our first meeting. There's the evidence. Someone who's posing to be someone on our team who then tells us that human life is not important and we can do without humanity. That's not someone on our team. I'm just letting you guys know. Now, am I welcoming this person back if they're willing to have a conversation with me and maybe have me and Dave pray for her and see if we can switch that spirit up into a spirit of light and love that actually loves human life? Absolutely. I don't believe that people are just set in their ways, but I do believe there are nefarious spirits out there that are here to confuse you, to make you believe that you're an animal, to make you believe that an animal's life is just as important. And by the way, for her and anyone else out there, I am one of the most loving persons when it comes to animals. If there's a spider, I will avoid killing that spider. I avoid killing insects. I have an ant farm at my house. I love ants. I study ants very well. But I still stand by human life being the most important thing. And if tomorrow it's the end of the world, I may eat my ants. That's just the reality. I love them, but I may have to eat my ants. You gotta do what you gotta do to survive, right? On the flip side, I will say this. We exchange the most valuable thing. This all started with talking about human life being the most important thing in this world. Life as a whole is also important, right? But human life is the most important thing. We've been duped into exchanging the most important thing, which is our life. Because guess what? Our life is made up of seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, years, right? That is our life. That's what it's comprised of. We've exchanged our life for paper that's worth nothing. So the moment that humanity realizes that this paper, doesn't matter if it's American, if it's European, if it's any Ian's, virtually no money in the world is worth anything anymore. None of it's really backed by gold or any kind of standard anymore. So we're sitting here exchanging our life for something that's worthless. The of the enemy for paper, they cannot fight any wars if they weren't getting paid. The military is getting paid. Let's be real about this. They're getting paid, right? And they also get paid more when they're overseas. You guys know this, right? They're dirty work because we've been duped into believing that this has any kind of worth. And the moment that we decide that enough is enough and that there's no amount of money that can buy, I want to build something. I want to build a data center. Ooh, I know you guys online. I know you guys are watching me now, huh? So let's talk about a data center. They want to build a data center. Well, if no one wants to build it for them, I'm sorry, that thing's not gonna happen. If people just say enough is enough, like we're not doing this, doesn't matter how much you pay us, like it's just not gonna happen, right? So I did want to talk about the only Christians here, not here, but in the world that are basically rolling out the red carpet for the New World Order. And Dave and I talk about this a lot because we Christians out there that are actually advancing the New World Order. I'm not one of them, and neither is Dave, right? So whether you're Christian or not Christian, whatever the case is, I want to apologize on behalf of probably the control, stay in your lane, all this kind of stuff. Well, last time I read my Bible, it's full of people taking actions to stop the bad guys. Full of that, from front to back. And if God is in control of every single thing and there's nothing for us to do, then why do we brush our teeth? Right? Think about that for a second. Right? A lot of Christians say, well, God is sovereign. There's absolutely nothing other things that, is on us. Right? We have our own personal responsibility. So I'm going to actually ask you guys, whether you're a Christian, whether you're not a Christian, why as Christians, if you are a Christian, why do you think it's important to stand against the New World Order? Anyone?
Because we're made in Jesus' image.
Yes, good.
We don't do anything.
Right, the end of life. That's good. I like that. Yeah, he's saying if we don't do anything, if we don't make a stand, it's the end of life. There's a verse I quote a lot. It's Proverbs 28, verse 1. And you guys can look it up if you want. My memory is still pretty good. The chemtrails haven't gotten to be too bad yet. But it says, the righteous are bold like a lion. Right? The righteous are bold like a lion. Being righteous means to do right. So you want to know if you're on the right side of history? You're bold like a lion and you're standing up for what's right. So this idea that Christianity is just like going to turn away from the evil and kind of ignore it. And, I want you guys to think about Jesus. He stood up and he protected children. A lot of us know that unfortunately this world is run by, I believe, satanic pedophiles. A lot of us have come to that conclusion through the Epstein files and all these other things that have come out. And you got to ask yourself, what would Jesus do? Would he just turn a blind eye? Would he not care? Because Jesus actually came against the disciples that were saying, no, let them come to me. Like Jesus loved kids. He stood up for kids. And there's another verse by Jesus' brother James in the book of James. It says, pure and undefiled religion is visiting orphans and widows in their time of need. Right? So if we want to really do right by God, and we want to do right by our fellow humans, whether we're Christian, whether we're not Christian, do good by someone who's in need, right? So to your point, to all your guys' point, we're standing up against evil. We're making that stand. We're boldly taking that stand. Another thing I want to mention, and this is not a very popular subject of conversation here, but Jesus was a vandal. Jesus was a vandal. He vandalized property. And not a lot of pastors are going to talk about this, but in the Gospels, the 4 books that account Jesus' life, it talks about how he went into the temple, the Jewish temple, taking advantage of people. They were essentially cheating people and selling them stuff. Not just a business, but a scam. Like they're taking money from poor people and filling. They were also interesting, right? Interesting. So what did Jesus do? Well, he flipped over some tables. It's in the Bible. You guys can read it. I'm not making this up. He flipped over some tables, right? He cracked the whip. Doesn't say that he hurt nobody. Doesn't say that he did it. I don't know. But it doesn't say either way. But what it does say is that he vandalized. He literally flipped. I'm going to turn my Father's house, speaking about God, into a den of thieves, right? It's supposed to be a place of prayer, and you guys turned it into a den of thieves. Now, I'm not saying it verbatim, but that's pretty much what he said. And so he was really upset at the people that were in control and that were essentially scamming people, right? So if Jesus, was here right now physically today, do we think he would stand against the New World Order or for the New World Order? And the answer is clear. He would stand against it because it's the same people. It's the same people. Let that sink in for a second. It's the same people doing the same thing. The people that Jesus spoke against, they were not crucified. They didn't die. They kept reproducing for generations and generations and generations. And those people are the same people that are running the same scam, trying to control the world, trying to control religion, trying to control, our idea of who God is, what God is, all this kind of stuff, making us feel powerless, right? So I'm going to go through this really quick. We got just a few more points, and we're going to, unfortunately, go a little bit over, but we're going to bring it to a stop here soon. So how do we stop it? There's a couple different ways that we could stop it. One would be by upholding the law, right? We don't need to go against the law. The Constitution speaks for itself, right? The Constitution gives us rights. Those rights are important for us to actually uphold. One thing I was talking to with Augur earlier is I was at my first city council meeting. I sang a song to the city council meeting. They just had to sit there and take it. It was hilarious. And I ended up on the news too. It's funny. It was my first city council meeting. She goes there all the time. But I was telling her, I was shocked. At first I walked in and it said, no gun, no firearms allowed. And I'm so used to seeing that. I thought, oh yeah, well that's normal. It's a government building. And then I thought about what our forefathers, why they gave us the Second Amendment. It literally has nothing to do with hunting. It has nothing to do with hunting. Our officials try to make it seem like it has something to do with hunting. It doesn't. It's literally for one purpose, to keep the government in check. That's it. I mean, it's right there, black and white. Constitution is black and white. Now, I'm not a big gun guy, to be honest with you guys. I'm not. And the way I look at it is either everybody has weapons or nobody has weapons, including the government. So this idea that the government gets to have, nukes and missiles and all this kind of stuff, and we have rifles, I think either no one has weapons, meaning the government doesn't have weapons either, and we don't. So just take the weapons away and watch the government fold really quick and start listening to the people, because they're backed by military forces and weaponry that none of us really have. But the way that the Constitution is written is that the weaponry should really be equalized on both ends. Whatever the government has should be the same as the citizens of that country. So either there's no weapons or it's the same weapons on both sides, government and citizens. Now, some people might argue, well, Franco, I mean, are you thinking about what you're saying here? What if a psychopath, ended up with a nuke or a missile? Hello? You guys been paying attention to who's been running our government for the last 100 years? I mean, it's been that way. It's been psychopaths in that Oval Office. So I would probably trust one of you guys a lot better than one of them. Like I said before, I would trust anyone outside of the government more than someone in there. So that's the way I see it. Now, going really briefly into the Constitution, right? The Constitution gives us rights. We just need to stand on those rights. The government, what they're good at is basically erasing a line and kind of pushing forward and seeing if they can get away with it. And because, unfortunately, after Australia, we've become probably the most, excuse me guys, I really apologize if I'm going to offend you, but we've become very spineless in this country, in my opinion. And I'm actually an immigrant. So I came here years ago and things were a lot different, but I grew up in a different country, and it's crazy for me to see that Europe is starting to have a little bit more spine than America. You look at England and even revolt against the government. Things happen. Things happen, big time. Things really, really happen. When England revolts against the government, things happen. Here, we might take to the street with our signs, and now they're actually sectioning off areas that are pro First Amendment. So they're being like, this is your First Amendment area, which is insanity. So that's why what's happening is happening today, because the government keeps kind of like erasing the lines that were and pushing forward, and no one is putting up any kind of resistance for fear of getting in trouble. I'm telling you guys what, today, right now, right here, it's in the Constitution, then we're kind of screwed either way. You know, it's kind of like, you know, do you want to be the frog that's in the boiling pot, or the frog that like jumps out and possibly gets killed jumping out? Like, I'm going to take my chance. I'm going to jump out of the pot. I'm not going to sit there and get boiled to death. Like, that's just me, right? But that's what's happening in our country. It's a perfect example. They're turning the temperature up little by little by little. What can we can do this? We can add property tax, which is not constitutional, right? Dave and I were talking about how the taxes on wages are not constitutional. All the taxes, right? So they're taking our money, which forces us to work harder to exchange our most valuable asset in this world, which is our time and our life, for more worthless paper that we then get stolen away again by these illegal taxes that are illegal. You know, so it's inch by inch. It's literally inch by inch that they go, and since no one puts up any resistance, and it's the same thing with the chemtrails, it's the same thing with the data centers, it's the same thing with the flock cameras, it's the same thing with every single thing out there, the digital world, the digital ID, because no one is willing up. Absolutely. But high reward. You guys know how the world works, right? That's just the reality. If there's no high risk, there's no high reward. It's going to be punishment, because that's why they're here. They're here to punish us for crimes that we've never committed, because they think that they're God. And we're here to remind them that they're not. There's only one true God, right? And that's my belief. So the next thing is, you know, we got the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence. You guys read through that. You know, it does talk about a militia in there. I'm just going to mention it. And the reason why I'm mentioning it is because I'm not talking about anything illegal. I know that these words, and I know you creepy three-letter agencies watching me online, you guys probably think that what I'm saying is illegal. It's not. And if you come after me, you're going to look really bad, because our own Declaration of Independence talks about how a well-trained, a well-formed militia is essential. It's essential. It literally says it in there, that it's essential to stop tyranny, right? Now, I'm not that guy. I'm not even a gun guy. Right? It's pretty interesting. It never talks about having guns to go hunting. It talks about having guns to keep the powers that be in check, so that they don't do. All right, moving on. How can we stop it, right? Well, that's where we're at, actually. So by upholding the law, we don't need to go outside the law. Our forefathers fought hard enough, right? Interesting, and here in a minute, I'm going to pass this sheet to you guys, and you guys can sign up with whatever information you want to provide. So how do we get organized? The same people that are setting up the towers, the 5G and 6G and all this stuff that is causing EMS and all this stuff, and it's not the same people building the data centers, right? These are all separate people, separate individuals with separate skill sets that are being hijacked to advance the New World Order. We need to operate the way that they do and get organized, right? Every single one of you guys has a skill set that I may or may not have. I probably don't. You guys are your own individuals, right? So how do we figure that out? You know, I'll give you guys an example. I'm a musician. I'm a songwriter. So a lot of the music that I'm going to be releasing soon has to do with talking about this stuff, has to do with talking about the New World Order, what we can do to stand against it and fight it. A lot of things that are safer to put in music, I'll just put it that way, and wait till I release it so you guys can check it out. But that's one thing, that's a very small area that I can contribute, is like, I'm a songwriter. I think I'm a decent songwriter, so let me put my skills to work and start writing. Someone might be an electrician, you know? There's a lot of nefarious things happening with electricity. If we had enough electricians that could look into, you know, things that are happening in the world, that would be beneficial, right? So whatever skill set you have, you know, maybe you're good at research, right? But figuring out, number one, like, what is your skill set? So I want each and every one of you guys to be thinking about this in the next couple minutes, because you're going to have an opportunity to write it down on a piece of paper. But what is your skill set? If you have more than one, 3, try to keep it at 3, just 3 skill sets. So think about your skill set. What are you good at, right? And then the other thing is, what are you passionate about? Someone might be really passionate about breathing clean air. Someone might be like, you know what? Clean air is the most important thing to me. Someone else, it might be clean water. Someone else, it might be radio frequencies and electromagnetic frequencies. And someone else might be really passionate about stopping the data centers and, making a stand. Someone else might really not be into AI and realize there's a big problem with AI and the AI takeover and technocracy, right? Every single one, some people might just be like, you know what? I really love children. I know that the Epstein files are a real thing, and I want to figure out a way to get the bad guys. So that's what we're going to do, right? So whatever your heart's at, wherever your heart's at. I mentioned that because I know Audra has a heart for children. She's been to a lot of different events that were geared towards, saving the children and stuff like that. So everyone's got a different passion and a heart, and I want you guys to follow your heart and use your skills, and we're going to figure out a way to plug you into what you can do to be on the right side of history and to do your part. It's a collective effort. I don't have time to get into ants, but I wish I did. All I can say about ants, all I will say is this. In the world, like 100%. If they were the size of a rat, we would all be dead by now. I'm not kidding you guys. The size of a rat, we would all be dead. Thankfully, they're only that big. And believe it or not, ants there's a certain type of ant that's the most venomous insect in the world. Now, thankfully, it's not a lot of venom, so it doesn't kill us with just one, but for how small they are, they're the most venomous. So they have a lot of crazy things with ants. But one thing I'll tell you is the reason they operate so successfully is that they put the well-being of the colony before their own well-being. They're not individuals. They don't think for themselves. They don't act for themselves. They act on behalf of the colony. And they will happily sacrifice their well-being or their life for the well-being of the colony. Do you know who else spoke like this? Jesus. Jesus said, there's no greater love than this, but to lay down your life for your friend. Right? What did he do? He died on a cross. Historically, and that's what I believe. And Jesus showed us that the way of the ant is the way to be successful. It's putting our own desires to the side. For us to stop thinking about, like, how can I be the king of the hill? How can I be all the way up here? That's why they're broke. A lot of us have been trained to think about that. What are you doing for society? Well, what is society? What are you doing for your fellow human? That's what society is. True society is human beings coming together, looking each other in their eyes and saying, how can I help you? Without wanting anything in return. Right? That's true love. That's true love. So the ant is successful because it puts its own desires, its own needs aside for the well-being of the colony. And I'm obsessed with ants. You guys will hear me talk about ants a lot because the secret to our success as a human species is to follow the ant. I know it sounds crazy, but these people, they spray us like ants. They think we're ants. Maybe we should start acting like ants. Because guess what? I'm here to tell you guys one more thing about ants too. If you have a lizard and an ant, right, or any reptile, any reptilian, wink wink, right? So any reptilian out there, and you have one ant. Well, that reptile, let's say a lizard or a snake, right? He's just be like, all right, there's one ant. I'm just going to eat that ant. No problem, right? The reptilian, the reptile eats the ant. What happens when that ant brings its sisters? Because they're all female, by the way. So shout out to all you ladies out there. But when that ant brings its other ant colony with them, and it's the whole colony, or half of the colony, or a quarter of the colony, whatever it is, when they come in numbers, that reptile that's mentioned in the Bible so often, right? We know what we're talking about here. That reptile has two options. It can stand its ground and get eaten alive on the spot, or it can leave. Those are the two options when it comes across a multitude of ants. And that's it. And it doesn't matter how big it is. I've seen snakes that were big snakes that got eaten alive by ants because they didn't move in time. You know, and if you guys are wondering, well, why didn't it move in time? Ants actually have poison that like paralyze the victims and stuff. It's a whole thing. But you ever see that? You ever see a snake that's like half eaten by an ant and you think, oh, well, the ants found a dead snake and ate it. No. They killed it. It was like 10 times, it was like 1,000,000 times the size of an ant. So, you know, New World Order people, you guys treat us like ants. I think we're going to start acting like ants, you know? So just putting that out there for all you reptilians, you know? But, yeah, I mean, there's, you know, and I'm going to say one more thing about ants, and I really do want to get through this. We're almost at the end, so thanks for your patience. And they're not just here in America ant, right? They're little black ants, like dark brown, and you'll see them. They have really, really big trails, massive trails. You'll see them like, they're very bold. Like you'll just see big trails of them going up and down trees, maybe sometimes on the sidewalk. Probably a medium-sized ant. And they're not poisonous or nothing, but the reason why the Argentina, but because they somehow came over like years and years ago on boats somehow, the queens that came here and started reproducing, somehow they lost the ability to have a different scent, a different chemical signature, because that's how they recognize each other, is through kind of like a scent, a chemical signature. So normally, within one species of ant, they would fight each other. If they're different colonies of that same species will fight each other. However, when they came over here to the United States and around the world, because this one ant got spread around the world, they somehow lost that different chemical smell. And here's where, and I'm actually feeling like Argentine ant colony, and they will embrace it like it's their own. They don't fight each other. They do not fight each other. They all work together because they have the same scent, they have the same chemical signature, because somehow crossing over from Argentina coming over here and going into Europe and everywhere else that they are, because they're worldwide now, they lost that difference. So they all act like a massive super colony. And that's why they're completely indestructible, because they win in numbers by being united, right? While all these other ants are fighting each other within the same species. So we need to think like that as human beings. Put our differences aside, put our different chemical compounds to the side, whether you're the left or the right, whatever your beliefs are, whether you believe in God, whether you don't, you know, our goal here is to unite people. You know, I am a Christian, I do believe in God. But I love you either way, it doesn't matter. You're a human being, you're created in the image of God. That's the way I look at it. So you're literally a child of God. I'm going to love you just like that and value your life, right? So hopefully that makes sense. We need to unite just like the Argentine ants. They are invincible to any other enemy, including reptiles, including other ants. Right? And the ants that fight each other, they weaken each other. They weaken their strength because they do not have the numbers to back it up. All right. So really quick, we talked about skill sets. We talked about passions. Think about, what are your skill sets? What are you most passionate about? Try to focus on staying focused on one thing or two things, or you know, that's really important. Pressuring local governments. And here's what I want to say about that. Imagine being in a city council meeting and all of a sudden, like, ready to handle business there, right? That's a little bit of pressure. Nothing against you ladies, nothing against guys that are not yoked, but you understand what I'm painting here. I'm painting a picture of men standing up for the rights that we have in this country, showing up at local meetings, letting our voices be heard, and letting these people know they will not get away with going against the people's will. They will not get away with breaking the law. That's done. We're not doing that anymore. And we're going to stand on business. And if we need to be the law keepers, I'm going to pass this clipboard around. We're going to wrap it up. I appreciate your guys' patience. Put your name, phone number, email, that works too. You could put either, you could put both. Skill and passion. So there's just one column, but try to separate them if you can. Skills and passion. And while we pass this around, I'm going to open this up to any comments or questions for the next 5-10 minutes. Any comments? Any questions? No?
Too late. How can we organize and get more people in? I had thought that if we put a sort of an information list together, like of things to look up, let them look it up themselves. And we have to find a way to talk to people so they can hear us.
You mean like people that don't think like us?
Yes, and it's really hard. I've had to really, I used to get all, rah, 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 and now kind of like calm down a lot, and I try to speak peacefully.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have opened up eyes, but it's been hard. And how do we spread it more? Because I know people are starting to open up their eyes. I've seen it. But how do we get it to grow more and more? Like I'm concerned about our world very much so.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I hear what you're saying. So,
The answer?
yeah, go ahead.
I think right now we are up against something called an algorithm. So a lot of people feel like they're spreading their message when it's actually confined within the choir, so to speak. So getting out to places like where the truth is not being spoken. So we sound like lunatics and have it's out for how do we get it? It's going to happen because anything that stands in truth and love happens. Anything that stands in lies and deceit collapses. So that's here in Boston.
I've had two people coming and I had
coming. Oh well, it's kind of like you know what I'm saying, but it's okay because this is who's here.
Yeah.
And this just like you said, we're all on that frequency of love for each other and humanity and Homo sapiens, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we're not all on the same page, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
But as long as we're here for,
I think we have to have one cause and see what
yeah,
the future,
humanity.
see what the future and where they're driving us. And they've been doing this for a long time. I'm 69, and I've been an observer of life always since I was little, and I just see how much things have changed. I saw parts, but I didn't see what I see now, and it's really it's overwhelming. And I look at the children, and that really upsets me. I have a story. I won't share it now. Because of how through the TV, through everything that's coming out, these kids, they don't have a chance.
Yeah.
Unless the parents are there protecting them. And even when you protect your child, things can happen.
Yeah.
So that's my concern. I've been watching.
Jamie, and that's what's bringing people, even people who don't have children, are showing up for the protection of humanity, for the future generations.
I worry about that.
Yeah, and there are. I mean, like I said, it's like if you're walking the right path, which is in truth. There's, I always like that Andre knows this saying. We are the unorganized truth fighting their organized lies.
That's good.
There's actually a key to it. It's not, everybody here had this health at one point. You start seeing what's going on, and you just. I was once coming out. I was talking to a lady that came out of that movie that was back about the pedophiles in the Mexico thing, and I said, and I was talking to her. Well, what does that do to you? And she said, well, what can I do about it? Well, that's the power of coming together like this. Is we can organize and do something together. Now, Franco and I, we have a thing about chemtrails, right? So the thing is, this is a place where we can form a subgroup in here. People are like, yeah, I kind of would like to breathe, but there's other people like you that really have a heart for the children. So how can we practically put together something and gather people like you, where you guys can then go and accomplish this?
I think it's a great way to do, because then we have expertise, and then maybe we can have speakers informing other people, because we all, like Franco said, we all have our expertise and our interest in what we know a lot about. I also know a lot about the Middle East and what's going on with the Palestinians and the whole history.
But those are all individual things that are going on. The ant thing he was talking about is so true. Because if we gather like that, all of a sudden if you have 50 or 60 people of like mind, well, what can we practically do? Like Frank and I were talking about, said, well, what's the first thing we can do? We're just making up a plan. It's not necessarily a big plan, but it's like, well, we can test the air. Maybe we can get together and somebody smart that's good at research can figure out, well, how do we test the air? So maybe we throw a few bucks together, you know, and then we get the air tested. Well, now we live here, right, in San Diego. Well, we can contact our congressman and say, here, we have this official thing on the air. Why is my air like this? Can you look into that?
And even more so, even more powerful, I mean, California has how many millions of people? Like
30 something million, I think.
So the first CARB meeting of the year, 3 people spoke. Myself, my husband, and Audra, out of the whole state of California. So we have to, I mean, like, speak in CARB. They have a meeting once a month.
Where is that?
CARB is in Sacramento. It's the California Air.
Okay.
Resources Board.
So if you have that, like, you use your, like, we spoke directly to Scott Wiener. And so it's just kind of like.
That's specifically for air quality?
Yeah.
CARB, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
California Air Resource Board.
I didn't know about that.
Specifically, you get to talk, you get to tell Wiener off to his face. You know, you get to talk to all these people, and that's where it's gonna happen, because that's where the need is great.
That's where it comes down from.
Just for the woo people, when I came here, I looked at my speedometer, and it had 144,000. And I was like, I'm like,
Oh, that's a trip.
I tripped out. I was like, "Holy shit, that's kind of cool." But it's okay. I mean, yeah, you know, that's where I'm coming from. But I just kind of thought it was great. But yeah, so CARB. I mean, it's kind of like that's moving. How they've gotten to this, because the New World Order is here. The United Nations agenda here.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is that how did they get here? They got here incrementally, bit by bit, a little here, a little there. They didn't, you know, and like you said, the infiltration, absolutely. Everything has been infiltrated, but we have to counter that with showing up. And it sucks, dude. These meetings are boring. But it's gonna take showing up to where it's like, when we want change, it's gonna take showing up to where they create the change.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You want change? You gotta show where they are actually, you know, making these bills, passing these laws left and right, you know, and the distractions over here, what are they passing over there? And the pattern, there's a pattern in how they go about it.
That's good.
Always. Go ahead, sir.
I'm going to try to start with the positive. I have a different view. Consuelo knows me, everyone knows me. I have a different view from people in general. When we're in flesh, it's difficult to be out of the ego because you have a perception of yourself which is very limited. So when we're about to die, or if we experience near-death experience, usually we meet the everything, we meet God. Most people that come back from a near-death experience are changed people. They see everything differently. So things are probably going to change for the better. They probably will, because humanity, not just humanity, human beings, is on the verge of death, of collective death, on the verge of it. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, it's on the verge. What that does is the same as a near-death experience for an individual that then will be connected to God. All the walls falls off, all the misconceptions, all the ways that you think you're going to solve something, it's not going to be solved that way. And because of that, the change is happening. You can see it in Italy, mostly in Europe, not so much in the United States. The brainwashing is pretty intense. Also, frequencies keep people just almost like, the brain doesn't even work that well. Even my brain doesn't work this well in the United States. I take a plane, it's all different. But here it's almost like I'm functioning at like 30% capacity. But long story short, it's happening because it's what God put into every living being, is the will to live, the will to also survive, potentially the will to thrive. And because that's challenged, you can see movement around the world where people are just, they have enough. I mean, England, I lived in England for 11 years. They are very, very polite people. one of the most polite, nicest people on planet Earth. Thai people also, really good. But the point is that they had enough, and they're like, a British person doesn't take bullshit at this point in time. So, you see the movement, people have enough, they just don't know how to get to the solution. The solution is already here. It's so simple, but we're so brainwashed that we can't see something that is right in front of you. It's that simple. It's dead simple. It can stop in a minute. There's no war. It's done. The brain cannot solve the equation. It's barely where intelligence is being held. The heart can. So this is true. It's a technology. That technology, we've been brainwashed to believe in it. It will destroy anything. It will swallow worlds. But money stops, war stops immediately. Done. Human trafficking, over. Nobody's taking that child. Container is not being filled. Container is not being shipped. It's all money was. True. Military police only work for me. They don't. Money stops, war stops immediately. So how do we get there? I mean, some people are starting to understand it from all walks of life, some celebrities, some non-celebrities. That's great, it's getting there, but it's the action that's going to change everything. And that action is really brewing from the collective, from the heart, from the soul. Something is going to break. It's very simple. The people in power, the elite, understand all the concepts of psychology, of energy, of action, of uniting, of planning. Simple stuff for them. But at this point in time, their moves are faster and faster because they're trying to, it's a race between the collective consciousness and asserting a total control that will never fail. And they cannot win that race because it's quantum infinite God that doesn't need technology. Like we have the ability to communicate to people anywhere in the world at any given time. And that energy, that knowledge is coming through God. It's going to break through. People are going to know what to do. They're just going to do it. They're going to be like, enough, done. So I think it's going to happen that way. What we do is talk about it, get together, and challenge ourselves because I feel like with all love, our brains are very, very small and closed and will not solve. The intelligence is not in the brain. The intelligence is not in the brain. Believe me, it's not in there. So the energy of knowing the truth of God is coming through. It's an evolution. We're supposed to go through all of this. What would Jesus do? I think it's a great thing. But I would say Jesus will not go to a council meeting. He will not go and speak to Donald Trump. He will not. Let me finish this. He will not go to a council meeting. He will not go to talk to Donald Trump or anybody. He will just go straight up and stop this, free the people in jail, do this, do that, show people they can grow food. Immediately, wouldn't even speak actually. I have a feeling Jesus wouldn't actually speak. He would just show the right action. And something that people could actually do immediately. So how do you feed yourself? How do you free yourself from the system? That's what would happen. So I see things differently, but I believe the change is going to happen regardless through the collective consciousness that is rising, only through that really. It doesn't mean that what we're not doing doesn't help here, but I feel like our actions coming from God, the actions got no life.
But God is within, okay?
Of course, I know that.
What did you try to do? You tried to plant, you tried to set a garden,
I know
you
that.
tried to do all that, but what did you have to get by? You had to get by the local county politics, right?
I don't care. I don't ask permission to the county. I just plant food anywhere.
That's why it stopped. That's what I'm saying.
No.
So people have to be aware of what they're up against. Not to fight it, but just to be, hey, how am I going to go through
Well,
this game of chess?
actually, what? They're not up against anything, because we've put this little tiny group of people. They're like controlling the world. There's not 300.
My point is, please
There's
don't
barely
minimize-
100.
Please don't minimize.
Wait a
people
minute.
standing up
Wait a minute.
at these-
There are barely 100 people controlling the entire planet. Like in terms of command and power, there may be one person and then it's like 5 people. I don't really give a shit. But they do have the control through technology and through thousands of years of taking, killing. Really, it's been the law of to become the king. You kill everyone. You say, "Who's going to stand against me?" Everybody's scared. Like, I'm the king. That's how it happened. That's how country is being right now. The reality is that people are not up against anything. If you waste too much time trying to understand what you're dealing with, it's done. The answer is already. Actually, there's a way. There's a way. There's a way. You ask God, how do I come out of this? Wait a second. Do you have a plan to come out of this in 24 hours? Do you have one? Slavery in 24 hours or less. Do you have a plan? But do you have one? Do you have one?
A written plan?
Yeah, do you have one?
To come out of the matrix?
Yes, for the whole world in 24 hours. Do you have a plan?
It's not, there's no plan because it's up to each and every individual.
Okay.
For them to
Okay,
establish that.
what I'm saying is, if we directly connect with God and we say, God, we have enough of this, it's too much suffering, we are done with that. We are done with that.
Where's God?
How,
Where's
let me
God?
finish. How can we exit this before the sun rises again? And the answer is already through. You stop the money, the war stops, the sun is rising again, there's no more war, there's no more human trafficking. It needs fuel, it needs money, it needs constant flow of money. If people stop spending money in one day in the world, it's done, it's over.
Not just for one
That,
day, though. Not just for
no,
one day.
no, one day will be enough. Let me tell you something. Wait,
And then spend it again, and then spend the money the
let me
next day.
finish. Let me finish. Apple, hey, Consuelo, let me finish. Apple is worth over $1 trillion for some time. I don't remember when. It's worth $1 trillion, right?
Or what?
Apple, it's worth $1 trillion?
Apple?
Yeah,
Oh, the company?
yeah, it's worth $1 trillion. Okay.
Tesla is.
It doesn't matter. Pick a company worth $1 trillion. That trillion is not real. It only works if the money is being spent worldwide.
But if that money has been spent worldwide for years, now
It
think
doesn't
about how
matter.
much
It
money
doesn't
they're
matter.
not
It
spending,
doesn't
not
matter.
spending
If
it.
the money stops
one
for
day.
one day, look, it's a supply chain. It's like you got
They
people
have a lot of
working
money
here, there, and there.
for
If some things don't keep flowing, supply chain breaks down. People just, the business falls, whatever. What I'm saying is that this is only happening, it's stacked up, but it's not solid stacked up. That money is only worth if the money is being spent daily per minute. So you stop, you have one day, complete total crash, it's over, it's done. It's that simple. We think it's solid. This stuff is not solid.
No, I agree with both sides. We do have to kind of wrap this up here in a minute. Tu parles français?
Oui, c'est ça.
Tu viens d'où?
Marseille Sud.
Sérieux?
Ouais,
Il faut qu'on parle alors.
d'accord.
Dimanche.
Voulez-vous coucher?
Yeah, you don't want to say that in French.
Tout t'appelle Dean. Je m'appelle.
Sam.
So to your point, so there is a fear-based. So both sides are correct in their own way. But I will say this:
I know.
on one side you have fear, but understand that fear also preserves human life, right? So
Fear
so.
never preserves you.
No, let me finish. Let me finish because you've been interrupting him. Now you're doing it to me. Like let's be respectful towards each other. Otherwise, it causes division, and that's a no for the rules,
I think
right?
that's not me division. I'm straight where I'm saying, but no, I hear if you're coming.
You're very passionate, but let someone else talk. If I'm talking, you know, I was brought up in an environment where if someone cuts you off, it's rude. So I'm going to stick to how I was brought up. I'm sure you probably brought up the same if you're from France. In America, maybe it's not a big deal.
It is.
But okay.
Okay.
Anyway, so my point is this: like, psychology teaches you that fear does actually save life. So you can say what you want, but the fight, parasympathetic nervous system response. And I've studied psychology, and I can until we're all blue in the face and bore you guys with the hours of research I put into this stuff. No one's going to win this argument with me. I'm just letting you know right now, there is a certain type of fear that will save someone's life if it's in the right situation. If you're running away from a tiger and you have adrenaline and that adrenaline kicks in and gives you extra strength, I'll give you another example. There have been women out there that have been documented to lift a car to save their baby. Who's heard of this stuff? You guys have all heard of this stuff, right? That's fear-based motivation. Let me just finish. So there is a fear that can be good, that can drive us towards doing good. However, operating in fear, unnecessary fear, and fear that's been, used to coerce us into things. For example, what Dave was talking about earlier today, which was, for what happened after 9/11, what's it called again?
Patriot Act.
Patriot Act. Sorry, I'm getting tired. But the Patriot Act, right? That was fear-based. That was fear-mongering that got us to sign our rights away. So I agree with you. It can be very difficult. It can be a very dangerous thing for us to operate in fear. I agree with both you guys in your own way.
I do want to counter you. I do want to say it's not operating in fear that saves you. It's being aware. And danger is real, but fear is not. Fear is here. So being aware of what you're up and it's the danger. And being aware of that danger. But operating in fear will never save you.
Well, I think that everything you're saying sounds good on paper, but if you're telling that to the mom that is lifting, 1,000 pounds,
Dead in my arms, yep.
right? So, like, if a mom is lifting up a car or truck to save her baby, and if you were to stop her and be like, hey, hang on a second, make sure you're not operating in fear, like, for one, don't get in her way, because that's not a bad idea, right? A mom is going to do what she needs to do to defend her baby. But if you were to ask her after the fact, like, were you scared for your baby? She would unequivocally say, absolutely I was, and that's what motivated me and gave me the strength. So I think we would have to agree to disagree.
Perhaps, because when I'm holding my baby, she's almost 9, and I'm directing somebody to call 911, I'm not like, oh, what, you know what I'm saying? So you're just like, you're operating an instinct and what to do, and then the fear, if I was in fear, I would have just been like, my baby would have been gone.
Well,
but I directed.
There's fear, you've got this deer.
I'm saying there's fear, but to operate based in fear is debilitating. So I guess I get
People
what
are
you're saying.
different when they're in fear though. Like sometimes some people are the type that stop and are like a deer in headlights. So people there are different ways that different people are.
Absolutely.
And I used to be the deer in the headlights person, and I am not anymore.
Yeah,
Like
when
now,
there's no
I
sense
don't
of
do that
urgency.
shit anymore.
But, I mean, I have to disagree with you, and I'm going to end with this. All of us avoid putting our hand in the fire because we've learned through fear and pain to fear fire. So fear can be a good indicator of what's good, and the Bible even talks about that. I'm going to stand on the fear of the Lord is the beginning of all wisdom. The fear of the Lord, right? So I don't think we should fear everything. I don't think we should fear what the government tells us to fear. But I do believe there are natural biological responses that teach us that putting our hand in the fire hurts. Okay, maybe I need to not do that. And it's not like I'm going to be afraid of fire and run away from it, but I'm going to be like afraid of putting my hand in it, which is a good sense of fear, in my opinion. But I do really appreciate your guys' time. I think we'll probably do this again next week at 1 p.m. We're going to really keep it to 1 hour next week because we're going to start right at 1 and go all the way through till 2, and then we'll just have a hard cutoff at 2. If Dave or someone wants to stay behind and you guys want to do that, I won't be able to stay. I'm just going to do a hard cut at 2. For anyone in North County, I'm working towards doing something in North County. She's from Orange County. We might eventually do something in Orange County. We want to start doing these meetings like once a week, wherever we can. And, and I hear what you're saying, and let's put our differences aside and agree to disagree on stuff. But yeah, I like the fact that you guys are here. I love each and every one of you guys for being beautiful human beings, right? Created in the image of God, and
Yeah. What's going on, and we have to agree to disagree and love each other. Absolutely.
Maybe
And
we
I'm
should
sure
debate.
I just wanted to
I think
say
that
that.
maybe a rule of thumb should be that we don't bring so much personal opinion into it. We're here for action. We need to start making change quickly, and we need the fire to spread to more compassionate people that will help us.
Yeah.
So I think we've kind of set some ground rules. But my thought here is maybe we just like how the matadors ole. If somebody has an opinion you don't agree with,
It's gonna
just
turn
shut up
people
for a
away
little while
because
and get through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of she left because she got
I tried to get her to come back, by the way.
No, don't bring her back.
Yeah, she's.
Well, that's not the
She's not,
energy.
I don't think she's.
I'll be honest
I don't
with
think
you.
she's in the same mindset.
I
It's
think.
fine. I think
Yeah.
we're all in different mindsets. I respect fire.
I don't wanna be
I
in the
teach
same
my
room
kids to
with
put their
her.
hands in the fire. They don't fear it. They respect
If
it. So we're all in
They got
different.
people inside
I-
that come
I
to
agree.
But
the rules.
she has something to contribute too, and that's what I told her.
She should start her own group.
I agree.
No, it's not, this is not a group. We're just
So I
like
think we have all felt for the moment that fuck hate humans because all the bad things that some humans
Yeah.
are doing. I felt that before. But I don't
She's coming
really
from trauma. Yeah.
think that we should be exterminated.
That's not. Yeah, she would all.
She said some really dark things that were satanic, and I'm gonna stand on my 2
getting wound
feet.
up.
Huh?
She was getting really wound up.
No, she had spirits on her. I think.
Yeah,
I agree. She had spirits. She had demonic spirits on her, and we're welcoming people with demonic spirits so they can get freedom.
I see what you're saying.
They can get freedom from that, but we're not going to embrace those spirits because those spirits are the same spirits that are operating in the New World Order. It's a spiritual battle, and I'm not here to preach to you guys. That's not what this is about. But the reality is that there's light and there's darkness, and there's part of her that I'm sure really wants to be part of what we're doing and help. But there's another part of her that is operating in a dark area because no one that's operating in light would say that humans deserve to be extinguished. That's a very dark thing to say. Very dark, you know. And someone like that could also be someone who brings a gun next time and shoots people. So I'm responsible, in my humble opinion, for people that come in the door here to a certain extent because I'm the one holding this event and my face is plastered online and all this kind of thing. I already get enough threats as it is. I already got enough agencies watching my stuff. They've told me they do. The last thing I need is for someone like this to come up and start harming people and then it falls on me. So here where I'm coming from, like, if she wants to come back, Dave and I need to have a chat with her, probably pray for her, probably do a little bit of deliverance because I really think she needs it. But I talked to her online before. We've been chatting a little bit. There's definitely something going on there, you know? And I'm not saying this out of hate. I love people. But I'm not going to, if I got to pick between loving the person that's talking about extinguishing humanity and someone that's talking about saving humanity, I'm going to focus on the person that wants to save humanity. Because it's going to save people, you know. I did want to address one thing, Jamie. I've been holding this briefly, really, really short. You were talking about how do we get people how do we grow in numbers and stuff. For one, this is a very believe the way that we do. I think there's thousands of people, tens of thousands of people, maybe even hundreds of thousands of people, and if we're lucky, we might even get millions of people. And what happens is it's a fire that starts, and it's little by little. So yeah, we can talk to people, but the one thing that I would advise against is to stop trying to change the will of, stop trying to make blind people see. Focus on the people that have eyes. Focus on the people that have eyes to see, that already see the world as it is. They may not know everything, but if they know one thing,
it opens the door.
Exactly. The last thing I'll say too is there's a really curious thing. And with ants, when they're looking for a new nest, I know I'm obsessed with ants. You guys are going to know everything you need to know about ants.
I'm curious. Why
No,
not bees?
bee? Oh, why not?
Yeah, why not bees?
Because he likes it.
Well, I mean, because I like ants. I don't know what to tell you. But I mean, for one, I'll tell you why not bees. Because bees are going extinct and ants are not.
That's not their fault they're going extinct. They stop spraying.
I mean, I'm going to go with whoever's the most successful, and it's ants. And that's just where we're going to leave it at. There's right? So, anyway, I'm having to cater to everyone. So with the ants, going back to the ants, the one thing I'll tell you is when ants are looking for a new nest, there's a very unusual thing that happens. They send out scouts to look for the new nest. One scout will go and they have this whole technique that they do. Then they'll recruit another scout to get their opinion, right? But guess what? And they do these runs back and forth, and they'll get ants to go back and forth, to check out the new nest, to gather opinions, to figure out, do you think this is? I think this is good. What do you think, right? But here's what's interesting. They don't wait for the whole nest to do that because it would take way too long. They don't wait. A significant amount of ants agree to this, then they switch their behavior from is this the right place to this is the right place and this is what we're doing. And it's the minority of the group that does it. Meaning it could be as little as 10 ants out of a colony of thousands, tens of thousands, and sometimes even millions of ants. Sometimes it only takes 10 ants that are motivated and driven enough to say, no, this is where our new nest is. We've all agreed to it, us 10 ants. Now we're moving into this behavior, and they will literally grab their fellow ants, throw them on the shoulders, and move them into the new nest forcibly. So what am I saying here? I'm saying it doesn't require the whole world to wake up for us to take action. Most people are passive. The people that are not awake, even if they were awake, they probably won't take action. It's probably a short, small group of people that take action that changes the world. The people that are doing the nefarious things of this world are less than us. They're less than the truthers. Truthers outnumber them already. We already outnumber the opposition. So we don't need to get the whole world to be on board with what we're doing. But we can start fellowshipping together, communicating, and little by little, you run into someone that talks about, oh, the weather seems so different nowadays. Oh, it's funny you're saying that. Let me tell you about geoengineering chemtrails. Boom. You know, but if someone's like, oh man, you're just a crazy conspiracy. Yeah, you're right, man, I am. See you later. Like, I don't have time for that. It's 2026. Are you stupid? Like, we're
2030 is right around the corner.
Right. Exactly.
What did you say about getting the ants and forcibly?
So basically, when ants decide that they don't wait for the entire colony to make that decision. They rally certain ants to go and scout out the area and get their opinion. When there's a group of ants, and sometimes it can be as little as 10, it might be more, but it could be as little as 10 out of thousands, right? These colonies have thousands of ants. Once there's enough of them, they say, okay, we're not going to wait for the whole colony to make this decision. We're making the decision for the colony because we know what's best for the colony. So now we're going to move from here to there. And the way we're going to do it is we're going to go grab the eggs and the larvae, and we're going to do it. We're going to, where they're actually doing the work. Instead of convincing the entire colony to do what, you know, to like, hey, do you think this is a good nesting area? Hey, we're moving the nest. Can you help? They're like, no, forget. I'm not going to ask nobody for help. I'm just going to do it. So they'll throw ants on their shoulders and carry them to the new nest. And they're like, this is the new nest. Like, you know, so it's a little bit forcible. They're just like, we're making the decisions. You know, and you know, unfortunately, that's the reality that we live in today. Is I believe that it's right. On the other side of this is like, for us truthers, we don't have to wait for the entire world to wake up to what's right and what's wrong to start taking action and protect the human race. We can start doing it now. We don't have to wait for there to be millions and millions of people on our team. We can start acting now in the well-being of humanity, you know, and if we need to throw someone on our shoulders and carry them, then that's what we do, you know. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys.
I was hoping you'd sing that song you were talking about.
Which one?
The one you were talking about that brings up New World Order or something.
You guys want me to sing a song?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right. Can you cut that up? Oh. Sorry, it's not released yet, so I can't. All right, go filming, guys.
Okay.
That's it.
You want to play drums? Sure. All right.